Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing on this amazing Thursday evening? It is 6:26 in my part of the world. It is dark out at an increasingly earlier time. It is lower on the thermostat. The leaves are turning brown. Basketball starts next week. Baseball is thankfully almost over. But most importantly, the Pittsburgh Steelers play this weekend. Here to talk about that with me, as usual on Thursdays, is the legendary Mr. Steel Flyers himself. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, man, I am far from legendary, but thank you very much for having me on, my brother. It's been a long few days without ball.
Yes, the bye
Gotta
week.
tell you,
I mean, the bye week is tough, but it is necessary. And
word.
yeah, I think it came at a good time for the Steelers, personally.
And for everybody involved, it's like, hey, we had a little break, had a little time to kind of refresh the batteries, whatever. So, speaking of break and refreshing batteries, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I feel refreshed from my sort of like mini week off. As you guys know, I do my best to really absorb. If the Steelers have some time off, like I'm taking some time off. Like this show, I'm not a.
Hey,
I don't lie. I don't lie to y'all. This show is hard to do, and it is a lot of energy. And so, yeah, when I get the chance to indulge in a day off in front of the couch watching football, that's what
yeah,
I'm gonna
right.
do.
For
Yeah.
hockey.
Yes, exactly. Did watch some hockey this week.
Did you?
Yeah, a little. I watched a couple of the Penguins games. I have the ESPN package, so now it's just like I'm
Yeah, I do
presented with
too.
it. Um,
Right.
but you
Okay.
know me, I'm honestly more excited for basketball season. I'm a big hoops boy, and I'm
I'm with
excited.
you.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
basketball.
that's. Oh yeah. See, now there you go. That's you, right? And I'm all about the hockey,
Yeah.
right? So you like to watch the basketball, and I like to watch the hockey. So we're all good with that. You know what I mean? So that's cool, right? But yeah, hockey season's ramping up now. We're in the throes of the first week or so, and basketball season getting ready to fly here. And Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off the bye, and every single team in our division won last week.
I know. Of
While
course
we,
they did. Of course they did.
while we were sitting, kicking back and checking what's in the refrigerator for the 15th time, you,
Yeah.
you know, every one of our divisional rivals all won.
Yeah, I know. But I like in a way, like I like that I'm kind like, I don't know, I'm kind of proud of the AFC North. Like watching those games, I was kind of like, I found myself rooting for, I hate to say it, but I kind of was rooting for Baltimore to win that game, and I was kind of rooting for Cleveland to beat the Niners. Like I knew that the Niners, like I don't know. I take pride in the fact that the AFC North can go out and win an absolute rock fight against anybody on any given week. It makes no sense, but it's true. It's true. I mean, how did the Browns beat the Niners with their third string quarterback? How did that happen? How did they do it?
Well, a lot of the Niners guys are now banged up and hurt and whatever. So I mean,
Who
that's
cares?
completely
Brock Purdy
understandable.
put up 70 points on the Cowboys defense a week before, and he looked like an amateur last week.
I mean, that hey man, I guess
Browns
you have to
defense,
take.
Browns defense is very real, man. We have to give them some credit. Their numbers now
Yeah,
are phenomenal. Have you seen these numbers about how low they are? They've given up like the least amount of yards in like 60 years or something. That I'm telling you, they're legit.
that's a real defense there, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for sure. That is a real defense there, and which makes that even the more perplexing that the Niners lost and
Yeah.
and we won against Cleveland and then lost. And it's like, wait a minute, what
Football
universe are
makes
we living
I
in?
know football makes no sense. The Niners beat the doors off the Steelers. The Steelers beat the Browns with 2 defensive touchdowns, and the Browns beat the Niners with their third string quarterback. Make it make sense. Meanwhile, the Packers go out and beat this team. They lose to the Raiders. The Steelers destroyed the Raiders. I don't know. Football, just especially for the first 6 or 7 weeks, is impossible to wrap your brain around. Nothing makes sense.
That's what I mean. It feels like October football.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because nobody really. Okay, I would say that aside from the loss from the Eagles, I think the Eagles have somewhat of an identity. And
Yeah,
I think that the Chiefs are kind of pulling a somewhat of an identity. And I think the 49ers are pulling a somewhat of an identity. Okay. At least in the early goings of the season so
sure,
far. Right.
sure.
So we're in October ball now.
I think you
And
left Buffalo out of that, to be fair, too. I think Buffalo has a definable identity, too.
okay. All right. We'll throw Buffalo into that little as well, too. So okay. But that's a handful of teams. It's still very early, isn't? Do you know what I mean? And we didn't really have a team. This is when you find out where teams are gonna try to end up. This is when you find out where teams are gonna start hitting their stride because by the end of October, the beginning of November, you need to be, you know, in that stride point and ramping up to make a playoff run. Do you know what I'm saying? And you need to be able to have that buildup of games behind you. That's buildup of wins
Right.
behind you. So you get that right? That
Yeah.
is that train of momentum. And the more wins and the more you get towards the end of, you know what I mean? It's that whole, time release capsule of you got to do a little bit this week, you got to do a little bit this week, you got to do a little bit this week, you got to do, and you got to keep it going, you got to keep the train going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that that's something that I've observed that the Chiefs have been quite good at throughout Patrick Mahomes' career so far. The Chiefs rarely lose games where you're like, wow, they really shouldn't have lost that game. They will occasionally lose. They will occasionally lose games against, like, they lost in the opener to the Lions. I mean,
Yeah,
the Lions look great, but they're a good team. I'm like, it's not like a
I was,
bad loss.
right. See,
Yeah. And they, so they will early in the season, like law of averages, they'll be a team that'll be like 3-2, 4-2, and people be like, wow, are the Chiefs having a down year? Same thing with the Bengals the last couple years. But what those teams do with the great quarterback play, it's the Bengals, at least in the AFC, top of my mind, it's the Joe Burrow and the Bengals, it's the Josh Allen and the Bills, and it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, where they just, by November, December, you're just sitting there saying this guy is just the best player almost every time he takes the field. And when you have that at that position, you're going to win more games than you lose. I think that the Steelers benefited from that for a decade plus with Roethlisberger, where there were lots of times that they played teams that were more talented than them. The Steelers were rarely the most talented top to bottom team in the league, particularly
agreed. Yeah,
particularly in the early part of Ben's career. In the later part, if you want to say in the Killer Bees era, if you're just looking at top line talent, like, yeah, it is hard to match that, and they did have a really talented roster. But like those
very
2005,
short time though.
yeah, I mean 2005, like he was throwing touchdown passes to Cedric Wilson in the AFC Championship game. I mean, it's not like he was, you know,
Uh,
I- you know, um,
no, I'm with you. No,
yeah,
no, I understand.
you know,
That's, you know, yeah. It's the same thing. It's the fact that he elevate everybody around him. Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? The fact that he was able that kind of a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And all right, so let's turn things around a little bit, right? So let's turn it around, right? So we say that now. Can you say the same thing about Kenny Pickett?
Man, it continues to be something that is impossible to get my head around. I have never I've never experienced anything quite like this as a Steelers fan, and I don't think I can really think of something like this as any of my other sports fandoms. Like, the closest one I can think of off the top of my head, you won't get this reference probably, but some in the audience might. A guy who plays for the Knicks, his name is R.J. Barrett. He played on the Duke Blue Devils in college, and he was,
Mhm.
he was like, I think the second or third overall pick in the draft. Really talented, physical
Okay. I mean,
guy.
I know that Duke Blue Devils is a
Yeah,
isn't that Yazansky's team
yeah,
or wasn't
Krzyzewski,
he
yeah,
the
Coach K, yeah,
Krzyzewski? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Coach K.
So,
That's it.
but anyway, he's a player who just like has flashes where you're like, wow, this guy is really good, and sometimes is super clutch and has game-winning moments, and then other times you're just like, did RJ even play today? And like, I feel like that with Pickett. Like, I just
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. I really don't know if he's a good player or if he's a bad player. I think that the fact that I'm so stuck with that analysis signals me to lean that he's not that good of a player, because I don't know, my whole life I've been such a proponent of like, you just have to see it. And I remember when I saw it with Peyton Manning. I remember when I saw it with Tom Brady. I remember when I saw it with Ben Roethlisberger. I remember even when I saw flashes of it from time to time with good old Eli Manning. But I just don't know with Kenny Pickett. I just don't know.
Okay. I don't think that there's a body of work yet. Do you know what I mean? He really hasn't even played a full 16 games yet.
He has.
So,
I think he just played about a full season's worth of games.
okay, just with the game last week,
If you include
he
this
missed what?
quarter of the season, and yeah.
Yeah, from last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in his second year, but he's only played a season's worth of games. Okay, he's probably not in a situation as far as offensive coordinator is concerned, but the fact that he's still really young, trying to figure it out and still trying to put it together. He's one of the few quarterbacks of his draft era that are even starting and playing as much and as long as he is. He is also one of the quarterbacks that was supposed to be the most pro ready of those coming out of his draft class. Okay. Now, I think that we haven't seen enough body of work from him as of yet. We haven't seen him necessarily in all situations yet. Do you know what I mean? Where I think we're going to see some of that this year, where there's going to be somebody, and we're going to see some of those kinds of things happen this year. Is he going to rise up? How is he going to be able to handle those bumps in the road? How is he going to handle the adversity? You know, when you get a guy like that and who can still lead the team, but still make the throws. See, this is where I think this whole Matt Canada thing is playing into this, that he's not being set up for success. He's
Yeah.
not making the high percentage throws. He doesn't have a playbook that allows the plays to his strengths. He's not, you know what I mean? So he doesn't have the right guys on the field to run the certain play. He's not being set up this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I agree with all of that, but I also just think at a certain point what gives me pause is what you said, which is that he was touted as being the most pro ready in his draft class. And now, not
Yeah.
even a year and a half later, we're sitting here saying, well, actually, really, oh, well, he's still pretty. And I'm like, I don't know. That feels like excuse making. Like, I kind of have to call myself out on that, right? Like, I kind of have to say, if my expectation was that he was going to be the one to come in. And granted, from his draft class, like, does he look like a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder or, God forbid, Malik Willis? Like 1,000%. Did you see Malik Willis play a few snaps last week in that London game? He just got sacked like every other play by the Ravens. He had no chance.
It was like he hiked the ball was hiked to him, and all he did was run for his life.
Yeah, and the thing with and the thing with Pickett is, like, you say he's young, but really what you mean is inexperienced in the NFL, because he's not that young. He's 25 years old.
Okay, let me rephrase. He's young in the NFL because he's only played. That's why I prefaced it with how many games he's played.
Yeah.
Right. So he's young, but he's only played 16 games. What body of work can you give a guy after 16 games? Right? Okay.
Yeah.
It was a first round draft pick. He has the team moved since he's been since the starter. I'd say, man, for the most part, the team played better when he got better.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you kind of have to weigh that in there a little bit too, right? Hey, the best quarterback in the room, yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. I have no question about that.
Right. Right. So if he's the best quarterback in the room, we don't even need to have this conversation because he's the starter then.
That's true. No, and I'm not in the camp of like wanting to bench him by any means, because he's the only one that there's he's the only one that there's any point in playing. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no, I mean,
if
that's
you brought Trubisky out there.
Trubisky, and I've said this year, is like, as much as I hated on that guy last year, he's not a bad guy to have as a backup quarterback. I'm actually very okay with him as a backup quarterback. He's shown he can come in as a relief pitcher and actually do a good job. He's skilled. He's been in the league a long time. Like, I'm fine with it. And I think having Mason Rudolph as a third string option is as good as you can possibly ask for that position.
Agreed.
But the reality is, like, there's no point to either of them playing. Like, if Pickett was going to get hurt and play for miss 2 or 3 weeks, like, yeah, then that's when you need a backup to try to win 2 out of the 3 games or whatever. But like, there would never be any point in benching Pickett. So I would never advocate for that, because I think you don't have anything if you don't have him. Like, literally, whether or not the Steelers will win a playoff game within the first decade of TJ Watt's career, in my opinion, almost entirely hinges at this point on Kenny Pickett's shoulder. Because, like, if he's going to be good enough to win a playoff game, they will win a playoff game within the next 2 or 3 years. If he's not, then it's going to be at least 3 or 4 years until we find who the real next person is, because there's just going to be a period of time of running out the clock and putting miles on the odometer and trying to hope you got what you got. You either have it or you don't.
So that's the other thing too. And I'm seeing some comments in the chat, which, by the way, thanks everybody for being here, man. We really appreciate you guys. Listen, we love doing this is because we love the comments, what you guys do, because you guys are so knowledgeable. You guys really know what's on here, and this is why we love doing this. Because it's a conversation. It's not just between 5 stars, between all of us. You know what I mean? That's why I love doing this. So, I think good. Kenny Pickett is good, and I'm looking at I believe it's Mr. Hammer Z.
Yes.
Said, hey guys. Yes, it's good. Not great like Mahomes. Half of it is the scheme, the other half is poor play. So see that's kind of calling it like you see it, like we both all kind of, I think that's why we're having this conversation. I think that's what's that level of doubt, because we're seeing some poor play from him. Do you know what I'm saying? Hey, Black Rain, welcome. Thank you for the $5 5-star. Hey.
5-star fiver. We love it. Appreciate you. Yeah, I don't know. I just think at some point something has to break eventually here, because I'm finding myself saying this about way too many Steelers. Like, is Najee Harris good? Is Kenny Pickett good? Is Deontay Johnson good? Is the offensive line good? Did they sign good players? Did they sign bad players? Did they let good players go? Did Kevin Dotson get better when he went to the Rams? Do they have better coaches? Like, I don't know. I don't know. There are so many layers of doubt as a Steeler fan right now. I really feel as disconnected from their internal thought process as I ever have in my life as a fan. Is that fair to say?
That that's why you feel so different about what's going on right now, because there is that. This team just doesn't seem grounded, man. It just seems like they're just kind of 11 guys out there running around on the field, and they all know they have to stop the guy with the ball, so that's kind of what they're doing. And the guys on offense, I just really think they're okay. I'm gonna go way back on you guys, right? So back in the day, there used to be this game that you could play that you could plug in to the wall, right? And you'd have these cool little statue figures, little plastic guys, right? And there was a little felt football that you could like crank the guy and make it like shoot it across the thing. And it was a metal football field, right? And you plugged it in and you turned it on and it was electric and it vibrated. And you'd set the guys all up in a formation and just turn thing would vibrate, and you'd have to run it for a couple of seconds or whatever, and then that was it, right? That's what the offense feels like. Like you just turn on the electric thing and they just kind of
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's been so bad for so long. I mean, they haven't had, as we've talked ad nauseum, they haven't had a 400-yard game on offense in like damn near 5 years at this point. I think the last time they scored 30 points was like 2020. Like,
and it wasn't all the offense.
It's just impossible to fathom how bad their offense has been for the last 5 years since I've been doing 5-star. Honestly, I mean, I had that half a season when Ben came back that was good, but otherwise, it's been absolutely brutal. I just want to shout out really quick. You can hold that thought real quick. Black Rain dropped a 5-star fiver. He says, "What do you make of Dan Moore Jr. coming back, taking the left spot? Blah 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 blah." I agree with you. I don't get it, but I also get it. Tomlin, the one thing, it's a challenging thing, but I do think that he is loyal in the sense that he does not believe that you should be able to lose your job to injury. And he's held true with that the whole time he's been a Steelers coach. I heard Chris Hoke talk about that today, and I'm going to give Mike credit there. I just think he thinks that you shouldn't lose your job that way. And I don't think it was like night and day. I mean, I think Dan Moore is still a capable player. I would be going with Broderick Jones. I mean, I thought he looked phenomenal, to be honest with you, against your most hated rival, but that's just me.
So, okay, I get it. Understand. You're gonna be loyal. You're not somebody to lose because, but I would be finding a way to get Jones snaps in some way, shape, or form. Okay, because this young man has shown that he could be better at the position than Dan Moore.
Yeah.
Okay, in my opinion. And Jones has way more upside, way more potential, way more. Do you know what I mean? I also think this too of Jones because I specifically watched him you know what I mean, when I got to go home and watch the tape.
Yeah.
Right, because it's really tough to watch it when you're sitting there,
Yeah. No, he popped off. He popped off for sure. He absolutely did. You could see the impact that he had on the left side. No doubt about it.
So when you look at that, when that really explodes like that off the screen, okay, so we'll see you go, right? And if you ain't cutting it, guess
can I ask
other
you?
Boys gonna get some snaps.
Can I ask you? What is your reaction to this story that The highest rated guard by Pro Football Focus in the NFL this year. Do you know who it is?
The highest rated guard. Oh gosh. Don't you dare say Tim, won't you?
No. Guard. The highest rated guard on Pro Football
Oh, guard.
Focus.
Oh, okay.
Highest rated guard on Pro Football Focus this year is Kevin Dotson for the Rams. How does that like? How do you react to that? Like the Steelers, this is a guy who I remember talking about years ago when Dotson was a rookie. I remember I said it speaking with you. I said something to the effect of, man, I just have this feeling like Kevin Dotson. I know he's like a 4th-round rookie, but that is a guy that just looks like a career Steeler to me. Like I just feel like he's going to be here forever. And not the case. Not what happened. They moved him before the season for a late draft pick. And now he's the
even
best
a big
rated.
Steeler fan.
Yeah, now he's the best graded guard in pro football. I don't know.
Okay, so this is one of those things where you have to add Stephon Tuitt to that list of guys that you shouldn't have gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And guys that you should have got of, you didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, Tuitt, no one could have planned for Tuitt. That he just decided to
get
retire. Yeah.
I'm not Tuitt. Oh God, I'm Hargrave.
Oh yeah, Hargrave, absolutely. Yeah, Tuitt did kind of screw them though, to be honest, because they invested in him. They gave him the money, and I get it. I get it. It's a sad situation what happened, but that did kind of screw up the process a little bit because they would have paid Hargrave. You would have paid Hargrave if you knew that Tuitt wasn't going to be around. They just picked Tuitt and Cam, and I mean, it didn't look like a bad decision at the time, but no one could have predicted what happened with Tuitt.
Exactly. It's one of those things. But, like I said, it's just one of those things,
Yeah.
So, I don't, it goes to show a number of things that the offensive line coach needs to be addressed because clearly our offensive needs to learn how to block.
But again, how many have we had now? How many have we had now since Munchak? It's got to be 3 or 4 already.
What do you have to pay that guy to come back and do this job?
Do you put any stock in the seemingly generations old adage that the Steelers are cheap with coaches? Because I kind of have to tend to agree. They just don't have. They haven't had any young up and comer on their staff my entire adult life. The last time I remember them having somebody where you were like, "Oh, he's gonna be like their next coordinator," was literally, what's his name, Keith Butler, and that was like 15 years ago. I don't know. They don't seem to be really doing a good job with that at all, man.
No. Not happy with coaching staff for a long time. And by the way, congrats to Rabbit for MC for the 5-star fiver drop there. Thank you.
Legendary. We love it. If we can get 2 5-star fivers every show, there we're making bank. All right, let's go. Let's make it 3 or 4 though. My app tells me that this is the first time that Rabbit has donated, at least on the super chat.
Wow!
I believe he might be a Patreon member. I don't know. If you're not a Patreon member, you should become one like him or like anybody else. Patreon.com/5SMU. I talked about this yesterday. But you guys know the deal. You get like exclusive 5-star merch, stickers, magnets, stuff you can't get anywhere else. I just ordered off eBay a bunch of new George Pickens stuff because George Pickens is a star. This is a jersey patch card. There's a jersey patch in there.
Nice.
Game worn, you know how I do.
There
so I got
go.
next like 15 packages I think are going to get some George Pickens swag. I would do it if I were you. Patreon.com/5SMU. You get some magnets, you get some stickers, you get some George Pickens swag. you get all of my love. Patreon.com/5SMU, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Hit that join button below the video. You can have a badge next to your name, like the legend himself, Kevin the Elder God. You know, help out the show. We do what we can to provide
For
you
sure.
the dopest
Yeah.
Steelers content on YouTube. And to be honest with you, I was hesitant to say this without a disclaimer for the last 4 years, but to be honest, in our 5th season, I have to admit, we're delivering the best Steelers content on YouTube. And I'm just going to say it flat out. So yeah, if you like what we do, patreon.com, 5SMU, you know the drill. Go over there, do it.
That's
Bing, bang,
real.
boom.
That's
Here's a
right.
fun programming announcement. There is going to be a new video premiering 7:30 p.m. So half an hour from now, right around the time we're going to finish this show. Watch it when you're done watching the stream. It is the second episode of 5-Star Remastered, where I take a look at the Steelers versus Rams game from 2019. So that's like the 8th or 9th episode of 5-Star Matchup. You'll have some old school me. I'll be looking at old school me. I actually like appear on screen and talk about it. So have some fun. Check that out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Very
I
nice.
know.
By the way, folks, you know the drill, man. $4 to $7. Seriously, if you can't, you got to be able to go over there and do that for $4 to $7. Patreon, 5SMU. You got to be there, man. You get exclusive content.
Yes.
You get access to the server. You get access to the chat. Talk to the main man himself.
I mean, you can text me.
5-Star Matchup because he's in it.
You can text me 24 hours a day. Like, there is no, like, I don't know how to offer you anything better, but you can. I'm saying you get access to the Discord. You can, I mean, I might turn notifications off, but you don't know that. Like, text me any time of the day. Yeah, we appreciate you, and shout out to the folks who check out the remastered episode tonight. Those, I never expect like high performance on it, but I just feel like I owe you guys who have been here for 4 or 5 years to like go back and make fun of myself from 5 years ago and how serious I thought I was being and all that stuff. So I hope you enjoy it.
By the way, also, you've got to tell you, man, huge shout out, right, for the stuff that Gage is doing, right?
Yes.
Huge shout out to Fane for all the cool stuff that they're doing, man. I'll tell you what, bro, you got a lot of good stuff coming out, man, and it's awesome it's awesome to see the reception from all you great people out there, all the great folks chat and everything, man. We love the questions. We love doing this, man, because you guys are out there and give us that great, energy, and we love vibing with you guys, man. So this is cool, man. We love doing this. So Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And like Anthony S says in the chat, make sure y'all like up the stream. And he's right. Hit that like button. It helps. We need it. Like. Do it. Steel Flyers. Do you want to play some more? Oh, do you have a topic? Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, if you wanted to do that, we can, or because I there's something I need to talk about, the fact that this upcoming game here against the Rams is going to bring Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth both back from injury, and so we'll just hope and see that they're being utilized. And of course, there's going to be a snap count limitation because the injuries that they're coming back from being hamstrings. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about having Deontay Johnson back and Pat Freiermuth back. So.
No, I'm with you. I have an interesting take. I kind of stole this from Mark Caboli, Steelers reporter for The Athletic. Shout out The Athletic. If you are a big sports fan and you like real sports journalism, I don't work for the New York Times, so they're not paying me to say this, but I love The Athletic, and I think it's worth the price of admission. Highly recommended if you don't subscribe. But I heard Mark Caboli talking about this, and he said that with what Pickens has proven now as the number one receiver the last month, when Deontay Johnson comes back, who's getting the doubles? George Pickens or Deontay Johnson? Because I kind of think that, that we thought, okay, well, we need Deontay Johnson to take pressure off of George Pickens, but now I kind of think George Pickens is going to be taking the pressure off of Deontay Johnson, because you can't look away from that guy if you're on defense.
And here's the other thing that I like about this. Okay, I think Deontay Johnson has a better skill set when it comes to the route tree, and I
No
also
doubt.
think he's a little better at taking the top off, just because he's that burner. Do you know what I mean? Because I would much rather see. Look, I really appreciate what George is doing. I really love when he streaks down the field and everything. But I would much rather see him do more of the crossing routes, more of the slants. You know what I mean? And I would much rather see Deontay Johnson doing the goes, the flares. Do you know what I mean? And the goes, right? And use the fades for Pickens. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be the Rams got their hands full, don't they?
No, they
Because
do.
now
They
Pickens
do.
and Johnson both on the field. Come on now.
No, I think Deontay adds a lot. I think they really missed him. I am I'm not that sold on Calvin Austin. I think that his speed is really nice, but I think he showed he's not a starting wide receiver at this point in the NFL.
Not yet.
No,
Not yet.
I just think he only has one speed. I've seen some tape of him, route running wise, and it's not about how long you're at 60 as a wide receiver. It's how fast you can get from 0 to 60, and that's what like Deontay Johnson. That's what Antonio. I mean, that's really what Antonio Brown. You want to talk about AB? That's what he was magical at. He was never the fastest wide receiver in the NFL. Probably not even close if you were just going to run a 40-yard dash. But he
Yeah.
got to his top speed
Real quick.
immediately. And that's what Tyreek Hill has. I mean, Tyreek Hill is
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
insanely fast, but he gets there so quick.
Yeah, I'm with you. Guys like that have that. It's not necessarily that extra gear. It's that breakaway speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you don't necessarily need that extra gear, you just to your top speed faster, because now you just left everybody else in the dust. And speaking of dust, hey, Ken got out the 5-star fiver. Yeah.
What a legend, Kevin the Elder
Thumbs
God.
up.
Another 5-star
I'm sure
fiver.
and the question is, I'm sure we're all aware of Tomlin's retirement to have a head coach opening. Wait,
I'm sure it'll take Tomlin's retirement.
It'll take Tomlin's, yes, okay, to have a head coaching opening. But is there a guy that you're already looking into taking over? Bieniemy? Ooh.
I mean, that would be interesting. I don't know. I don't.
That would fit the Rooney's mantra.
It would. I don't think that way, and I know that's such an unsexy thing when it's my job to like give opinions on the internet. But to be honest, like you never would have in 2007, you never would have guessed the Steelers were going to hire Mike Tomlin. No one did. In 1993, you wouldn't have guessed they were going to hire Bill Cowher. And in 1969, you wouldn't have guessed that they were going to hire Chuck Noll. So, I mean, it's just impossible. I don't know. I hear you. I wish I could give a better opinion on something like that. But I do think, like, if I was going to say something, I think it should be two things. I think it should be somebody under the age of 40, and I think it should be somebody who has an offensive background. That's the way that I'm seeing things going. I look at the Shanahans, and I look at the McVays, and I look at the direction, LaFleur and Green Bay, and I just see the direction this game is going. You need to be offensive minded. You need to be analytics minded. You just have to.
In this day, in this game, in this day, in this game, with the players of this age, at this time, that's exactly what you need to do in order to be successful. I agree with you 100%. I'm not necessarily looking towards who potentially could be the next coach? Because I think it's going to be somebody that we've probably never heard of. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. Because it seems, and this is what I'm kind of hoping too with Omar Khan being as a general manager, we can start getting away from what you talked about earlier. And something that we can address now is the fact that the Steelers went away from paying coaching. What is wrong with having a big name guy coach like Munchak back here and pay the guy $4 million a year and shut up?
Yeah.
The guy is a Hall of Famer. When he was here, the defensive line could block.
Yeah.
What? You got to have coaching like that. You need to have coaching like that, and it starts the head. So, when the time comes for Tomlin to go, you're going to need somebody that's going to be in there. And I agree with you, Steve, 100%. They need under 40, and they need to be offensive minded, new game minded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
you
just
can't have that.
It's so obvious. I mean, like the Steelers, like almost every time they play one of those coaches. I mean, even Zach Taylor, if you want to include him. The Bengals have killed the Steelers. I mean, they've killed the Steelers. Yeah, I know we beat them. I know we beat them week 1, whatever. But like, man, you know, they're putting up 30 plus every time we play them, just about. And you know, I don't know. Yeah, I like that. As I said earlier, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Like, I do like that the AFC North, Mike Tomlin, Kevin Stefanski, John Harbaugh, they could go play any team in the league and they can go find a way to win 12-8. But at the end of the day, like, am I betting on, no one is betting on the Ravens or the Browns or the Steelers to win a Super Bowl right now. And they're all above 500. They're all within a half a game of the division. But which team in that league has anybody in that division has anybody convinced at all that they could win a championship? It's only Cincinnati. It's only the Bengals.
And it's only because they've been there within those 2 years.
Yeah. And they have a quarterback and they have a coach that seems to be invested in that. They're the only team that's built from the offense down. And that's just the reality. Like, I don't know that I really wholeheartedly believe that you can build your team around defense anymore. I don't know. I don't think you can. I think it's important to have a good one, but I think your team needs to ultimately be able to put up 30 points at the drop of a hat more than they need to be able to occasionally hold someone to 11 points.
Okay, so that's kind of that line is going to be. Because
right?
Are you going to, it's exactly that. I mean, talk about nail and hammer and head, right? That's exactly where it has to be right there is, do you invest in heavy defense or do you invest in a defense that bends and breaks? They still give up occasional chunk plays. They have good amount of takeaways. They're holding teams to, let's say, on an average, 15 points or less. But your offense has got to fly at 25 to 29 to, 30 points a game, or else none of that formula works. Because otherwise, now you need heavy defense that holds teams to 11.5 points per game, because your offense is only capable of 14.5 points per game. You know what I mean?
Okay, let me ask you a question. I'll ask this to everyone in the chat too, but in particular, I want to ask you because you're the other human being that I'm speaking to right now.
Okay, honored, privileged, and scared.
Yes. If the Steelers replaced you made everything the same, every single thing the same, and you replaced Kenny Pickett with, say, Derek Carr, do they win more games in a season, and do they have a better chance at winning a playoff game? Everything else is exactly the same.
The only thing that's different is Derek Carr and Kenny Pickett.
Hmm.
The only thing that's different, right?
In 1,000 simulations, does that team win more games?
I would only, and I'm leaning yes. And the reason why I'm leaning yes is because I've seen enough of Derek Carr in situations where I've seen him be successful.
Right.
So I think that goes back to that whole look, I only seen Kenny Pickett for 16 games. That's it. I don't have enough of a. I mean, yeah, we've seen Kenny Pickett,
Okay.
but I don't think we've seen him in every situation. So I don't really, talk to me next year
Okay, so yes,
about what.
so I hear you completely, and I think that that's like I kind of see Derek Carr as like, in baseball they have the Mendoza line, which is like if you hit at least 200.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I kind of see Derek Carr as the Mendoza line of quarterbacks. If you have a quarterback that's worse than Derek Carr, you need a quarterback. And if you have a quarterback that's better than Derek Carr, you have a pretty good
You're,
quarterback.
you're, you're good. All
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah, and I think that like
So,
that's my
so
also
that's the
initial
Derek Carr
reaction.
line.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the Derek Carr line, right? Okay, right.
Yes, yes, it's the Carr line. Yes.
The
Um
Carr line. All right, I got you.
yes. Um
Well, what do you think? I
and so
mean,
yes, so
what is
here's yeah, so my initial reaction is that I would think yes, that team would be better on a down to down basis. I think they would make more plays on first down. I think that they would move with some consistency. I think he would throw for 27, 28 touchdowns if he stayed healthy. But then I also think about watching the Steelers and the Raiders on Christmas Eve, and Kenny Pickett was by far the better quarterback in
it?
that game. So so like so like
For one
again,
game,
nothing makes any sense about Kenny Pickett. It
right?
is impossible. I know I brought it back
Yeah,
around to him again, but it's impossible to wrap your head around. I don't
but that one
know.
game, but that was one game. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the Mason Rudolph against the Detroit Lions in the rain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was one game.
Yeah.
But in his of work, yeah. So that's why I'm saying in that one game, Pickett bested.
Yeah.
Cool. But let me see you do it over 5, 6, 7, 8, and now we talk.
I just want to see him
Right?
score.
But
I
we,
just
we
want to
haven't
see him
seen that.
scored. I just want to see him score like 29 points and like have a day where I was like, yeah, the offense was good today. I mean, I remember back in the day in like the Killer Bees era where we would like me and my uncles would like joke like half jokingly be like, oh, who was the player of the day? And you'd be like, well, AB went for $185, but Le'Veon had
Last game,
136.
yeah.
Le'Veon had 136 and 12 catches, and then you're like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
but Ben completed 25 of 29 for 648 yards and 16 touchdowns. Like, it's just we're so far down, and I think that like yeah, that's the hard thing when I look across the league and you hear about receivers who want to move on from situations or whatever, guys getting traded, and it's just when you're like Devonte Adams is another guy who feels like he's getting reduced usage right now, and I get it. But when you're on a bad offense where the quarterback isn't playing that good, you're playing so many fewer snaps because you're not sustaining drives. I mean, the percentage
You're
of
not
drive.
on the field.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not on the receivers and the running backs. I mean, that's just the reality. If you're going
No.
three and
Well,
out,
it kind of is.
it can
It
be.
kind of
Yeah,
is because
yeah,
if the
yeah.
ball is going to them,
It can be, but I
I
don't think
mean,
I don't think any of us I don't think any of us think that the Steelers' ineptitude on offense is because of George Pickens or Najee Harris. Do we? I think we all pretty much think it's either Matt Canada, the offensive line,
well,
or Kenny Pickett.
okay, so there you go. That's kind of where we're thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, but could it be? We see too much tape of the contrary. That's why we're questioning. That's why we have these debates. That's why we do these conversations, because we see much of it to the contrary. That these guys are running the routes we running, but the ball ain't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the hole there for the running back.
Yeah.
Now, could it be some of it that, I heard what Tomlin said in the press conference, that they're like what they talk about with hockey players, or they're gripping the stick too tight. Like when sometimes you're doing that, you're kind of just trying a little too hard. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you're not letting the game come to you. You're trying to force it. And when you do that, things don't work. You got to let it come to you, right? So you're gripping a stick a little too tight. So that's what Tomlin said that they were doing, that they were just kind of gripping the ball too tight. All right, well, so let the ball go then.
Yeah. Do you think I mean it was my initial reaction at the time, but do you think how good the preseason was had a negative impact? Like, do you think that like a bunch of kids kind of bought their own hype and needed a reality check? Do you think that's kind of fair to think?
I think that,
Because I think
and
it's
I have
fair
to
to
say,
say, I think it's fair to say league wide, there was nobody that ascended through like general predictions and power rankings more because of the preseason than the Steelers did this year. They were the preseason darlings, to be fair. They really were.
they were, because they were undefeated, and because of the starters played less than an entire game's worth of action
Yeah.
all day long, had explosive numbers. And it was easy when all do is sit back and go, wow, this is one-on-one coverage with George Pickens. All right. And the offensive line was up against third string or fourth string guys. And all he needed was, 4 seconds to chuck the ball and touchdown. Hey, all right. Easy day at this. Puts the helmet down, goes and sits over a bench, and Trubisky trots on the field. Or Mason Rudolph trots on the field. I mean, that was your day. That's all you did was throw 5 passes, 2 touchdown passes, and that was it. You had short fields the whole way through.
And not
You
to
know what I'm
mention, you're
saying?
talking about a backup quarterback who was a number 2 overall pick that started like 60 games for the Bears, and then a third string quarterback who was, played what, 15 games in his career. I mean, not a lot of
And
guys.
he's been with the team for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, not a lot of guys with Mason Rudolph's experience level were playing against Best Buy workers in the preseason.
Yeah, and the fact that he's still only the quarterback. I mean,
Bless
I don't
him.
get it.
I give that guy credit, bro. You show up every year, make $2.5-3 million to put your body not at risk, work out 4 times a week. I mean, not a bad gig.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm with you on that. A
You could
bad
do a
gig. I
lot
mean,
worse. You could do a lot worse for yourself than Mason Rudolph is doing.
true. That's true. That's true because, when his career's over, he'll be able to down as one of the media's and say, "Yeah, I was a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers
Would
for
you
6 or
rather
7 years."
would you rather go get decapitated behind some crappy offensive line in the XFL for $700,000 a year, or just be a third stringer in the NFL for like $3 million? Like, yeah, he's got the best gig. He's got the best gig on the
Yeah.
whole Steelers roster.
Here. Um, that's crazy. The fact that, well, okay. Well, so I saw that you brought over your little tablet.
Yeah, I got
And you
my
have a station going on.
I, yeah, I got my iPad here. Big iPad guy. Very useful. I didn't have one for a long period of time, but I recently played with the Apple Pencil like about a year ago, I guess, on my mother-in-law's iPad, and I like to draw, and I was really actually impressed with it. So I was like, damn, I gotta like get an iPad. I haven't had one in a long time, and now I use it almost totally in place of a laptop computer. I'm impressed with the hardware. But that is unrelated. What I use it for is the Notes app. And yes, I figured that we would do another round of our famous free association. You into that?
I like it.
All right.
I'm
All right.
all day long. I'm down. Hit me
All,
with it.
all right. First one. Marquise Pouncey.
Overrated.
What's that?
Overrated.
Overrated?
Overrated. Overrated.
Wow.
Um, I'll say this. Um, he was good at blocking, and he was good at um, the um, the signals, calling the offensive blocking schemes.
Definitely.
But he spent um, the part of his career dealing with high ankle sprains for a number of seasons that he missed a lot of time with.
True.
And towards the end of his career, he couldn't snap the ball to save his freaking life. Now, as far as I'm concerned, center has to be worried about one thing: snapping the ball to the quarterback.
Yeah. No, you're
So,
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think that that's a fair way to look at it. Um, I think that
was he a good center? Yeah.
yeah, he was. Steelers fans definitely thought he was like a better center than he was. There, he was definitely in the top 5 maybe, but he was, I don't think ever really like the best
Well,
center.
well, I think Ray Mansfield was better than Pouncey all day long.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I had my,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think Mansfield even played maybe, I think they played the same number of years.
Yeah.
Right. And he was just inducted into the Ring of Fame
Yeah,
this past year.
I think Pouncey will probably get into that eventually. The word that I would say for Pouncey is just dog, specifically DAWG. Pouncey was a dog, dude. That's what I liked about him. I'll never forget when he sprung to the defense of Mason Rudolph in that Browns debacle. Pouncey was ready to throw down, and that wasn't even, that was Mason Rudolph. God forbid if that was Ben. I mean, he would have lost his mind. But, he was the guy, he was the bodyguard for our guy, Ben Roethlisberger. And so
Yep.
when he played, I agreed with you, and I also disagreed with a lot of things that Pouncey like said or did. But like besides that, I always thought he was like a smidge overrated. But I have to, in retrospect, acknowledge that like he was part of the Ben Roethlisberger battery, and that was like, like if you ask Ben Roethlisberger, I bet you he would probably say his favorite teammate of all time was probably Marquise Pouncey. If I'm being honest, I think he probably would say that. So I got to give him some
One
credit.
of
Yeah, I
one
think
of.
that's who he would say point blank. To be honest with you, I really do.
And I will say this too. I think that him missing the Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers was one of the reasons why the Steelers lost.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Be- because he was part of that whole cohesive unit
Yep.
of the offensive line. And when you don't have that, good, bad, or ugly, right? Look, hey, when you're winning championships, you got to have that. And when and guess what he missed the Super Bowl with? Take a guess. High ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, you're right.
all right.
You're right. My issue really more was just with the bad snaps as he got older. I didn't get what that was, and you'll see in the 5-star remastered, he has one in that Rams game that goes for a touchdown. He did that a number of times. What I can remember in Jacksonville, I think, the Cleveland
Mm-hmm.
playoff game to start it, and that
Mm-hmm.
Rams game, and I think the Chargers
Yep.
game with Duck Hodges, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And he did a couple of them with Ben.
yeah,
He
just
did a couple of them
weird.
with Ben. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Weird. That was
So I
so
don't get.
weird. It kept happening. Okay, I got a current one. George Pickens. Where are we with George Pickens?
There's so many I have that I could say, but I'm gonna say coming of age.
That's a good one. I like it.
And the reason why I'm gonna say that is because yeah, the tape on him, but it doesn't matter and he catch the ball.
Yeah.
It really just doesn't matter. If you throw the ball anywhere, shape, form, close to where he can get some fingers on it, he's making a catch. And quite honestly, I think he would have made that touchdown pass, even though the guy was facing him and he was reaching around him. I still think he could have made that catch,
Yeah.
right? But dude, was a little too much pushing him out of bounds, and going, he was falling away and everything else like that. So yeah, coming of age, but because I think he has matured into that receiver, even though Dante Johnson's coming back and he's the quote unquote WR1, whatever you want to call it. I really think that he has aged this year with his skill set.
Yeah.
He's just a one trick.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment. I am by all means sold on George Pickens. I really think he's gonna
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
I think he's already to me a guy where I'm already thinking about the second contract. I'm positive he's gonna be a high end. I think if you give him a good offense to grow in, I think I see no reason he can't be like what AJ Brown does for the Eagles. I think he can absolutely be that kind of guy, and the Steelers would behoove themselves. That's Mike's favorite word this week. They would behoove themselves to make sure he's taken care of long term. The word that I would say is gazelle because I just love the long speed with him.
Yeah,
I love
I
the
love
way
it.
that he just, he's not the fastest guy, but again, that on football field speed is just a different thing. And George Pickens just looks like a natural football athlete to me. And that's what I'm excited to watch him grow. And he reminds me of, he's more physical, but he reminds me of another Georgia Bulldog guy who played against us for a long time, AJ Green, who in his prime was really good and really athletic. And I see a lot of similar traits. I love me some George Pickens. Big fan.
Yeah, man, all day long. In fact, when we were at the game, the whole row of people that were sitting in front of us, with the exception of the Crows fans, they were all wearing Pickens jerseys.
No, he's the
Everybody that was
star.
sitting in the row
Yeah.
in front of us, yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah, with you
he's
all day long.
becoming he's becoming the next star. He's gonna be the guy you see a lot of younger people wearing 14 jerseys too. That's gonna be like the guy that like teenagers gravitate to, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he doesn't quite have the charisma that Juju did when he first broke into the league. Do you know what I mean? But he's doing his skill and play on field. You know what I mean? Where Juju was able to play on the field, but then he also had some swag with him off the field.
Yeah.
Do you know? I'm not saying that Pickens doesn't have that, but he's more of the, hey, I'm about doing it on the field. I'm
Yeah.
about here to be about business.
Yeah,
You know,
Pickens is just kind of a weirdo, and that's what I like about him. He's just kind of like
right?
he's kind of a strange cat. Like Juju was like so social to the point that he was immediately like a lightning bolt, like where it was like 70% of people were like, "Oh my god, this kid is amazing," and 30% were like, "Shut up." And then by like his third year, it was like 50-50, and by his fourth year, it was like 40-60. Like it just people slowly got more tired of it. I still contend that Juju was always a football first guy, and that dude was tough as nails on the football field. I'll never forget that he came back for that playoff game with Ben with the after the torn shoulder. That was,
I know.
you
I
know
know.
what?
That was
That was gutsy, man. And I hate the way a lot of Steelers fans treated him, because he always proved that he was gonna put his shoulder
yep,
down. And man,
yep.
I
And
hated
take
the
the
way
hit
people
thing.
tried to act like he wasn't tough as nails, because he was.
Did I hear it?
Yeah, the
I
famous
heard.
5-star sirens.
I heard for just a few seconds. The 5-star sirens. It just wouldn't be a show unless we heard the sirens.
Yes. All right, I got a couple more for you here.
Go for it.
Carnell Lake. How about that one?
Oh man, I can't think of, but man. All right, rock,
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
rock, and I'll tell you all that because man, that dude was steady as a rock. You could it didn't matter. He could cover you.
Yeah.
It didn't route you were running. It didn't matter if you were a tight end, if you were a wide receiver, if you were running back. He could just cover you all day long, and you weren't catching the ball.
No, yeah, he was a great player. I always thought one of the most underrated of that 90s early Cower era. And he played, I think he made the Pro Bowl at both safety and corner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Yeah.
he did. He and Rod Woodson both played at the same time. And I'm here to tell you that was probably the tandem from what the Steelers had in the 70s
Yeah.
with Mike and Shell. You know what I mean? With Mike Wagner and Donnie Shell back there. That was the best tandem ever with when Woodson was playing safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carnell Lake. Oh man, he made it at cornerback and he made it at say Pro Bowl for both positions.
Yeah, I was always a big fan of him. I always thought
Rock.
I thought he was underrated. I was similar to how
Yeah.
you said Rock. I was going to say Glue because I thought he was like a glue guy for that team. I thought you know, I love like old SNL. I'm a big fan of Phil Hartman, who was on in the 80s and 90s, and they describe him as being the glue guy because you could put him in any sketch and he'll make it work and he'll be the perfect character. And I thought that like that's how I think of Carnell Lake was just they put him where they needed to put him. Always did a good job, and I think at the secondary, for as
So
much as everybody talked about that front seven and the linebackers with that cower defense, that secondary in the early years of it is really what helped them be excellent, I thought.
exactly because you couldn't get over the top on him.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And that was a huge thing then because teams were just starting to get into that pass happiness. And a lot more of the West Coast offense was being run and spread out through a lot of the other teams. And Bill was running the 3-4.
Yeah.
So when you 3-4, your safety have to be on point and be able to be man up.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're going to see a lot of it because you have three guys rushing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
So,
he was, yeah, I was a big fan of him. All right, I got a good one here. I got two good ones to finish it off. We're gonna stay in the '90s.
all right, okay.
The next one is Eric Green.
Ooh, man, I got to tell you what. It's funny that you mentioned that because that guy just.
With the big shoulder
Um,
pads. He had the old school like like the shoulder pads were like 8 square feet, like
that
yeah.
dude, monster. That's
Yes.
going to be my word, monster, because he was the big human being there catching balls, and it didn't matter that he was so slow.
Yes.
He was just like a diesel truck, right?
Yes.
Well, once you got him rolling, you would just tink,
Yeah.
tink,
Yeah.
tink. You guys just bounce on him, and he was just rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. You know.
Yeah. No, he was great. I always thought he
Oh,
was
I love it.
way ahead of his time. Kind of guy that if he showed up 10 years later, I think would have been, you know, I think he's the kind of guy that
He'll
like
play.
you look at guys now like the Darren Wallers and the Evan Ingrams and I'm like, man, Eric Green could have been that if offensive coordinators were thinking along those lines 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
He really could have
He was
been great.
very yeah,
Yeah. Um
underutilized.
yeah,
Underutilized. Very much
yeah.
so.
Yeah, he was.
He was the Gronk before there was Gronk.
Yeah.
Because he could bowl you over. It didn't matter. Right? It's just too bad he didn't get enough passes thrown to him that he could have done a little bit more. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm with him.
Yeah, the word
Okay.
that I would say for him, this is on my mind because I went to visit Lady Liberty for the first time in person recently, the Statue of Liberty. I never took the trip over there. I mean, I've seen it. I can see it from Brooklyn and from Manhattan, but I never like went to the actual island. We had some family, visiting from Europe, so we did touristy stuff. And it was awesome, it
Yeah,
really was.
touristy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Cool.
Yeah, but it was.
So, no, man, that's great.
Yeah, but it's awesome. I mean, it is like I feel like we lose sight. Like America has like a colossus, like literally a colossus that is amazing. I mean, the Statue of Liberty is huge, and I think people just like have this mindset of like this thing that's just over there. But man, honestly, when you see it and you take into account like Ellis Island and all that stuff, it's like it's amazing. And so that word colossus has been on my mind. And that is how I would describe Eric Green because he reminds me of a colossus, much like, yes, the Statue of Liberty, the ancient Greeks, or even the X-Men if you're
yes.
if you're an X-Men fan.
Ancient Greece, yes. Colossus, yes.
Yes. So I think of him as a colossus. That dude was an absolute beast. Love him. Okay, I have one more. Then we're gonna round the corner and get out of here.
All right.
This is a good one. Underrated player, I think. Levon.
So now you've already given your
No. That's not. No, that's not my word. That's not my word. I'm just prefacing it.
Okay.
So the player is Levon Kirkland. Yeah.
This is easy. This is real easy.
What is it?
Favorite.
Oh. Okay.
Of the linebackers that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that early part of the Bill Cowher era, when you had Kevin Green, you had Greg, but the other name that everybody else forgets is Levon Kirkland.
Yeah, he was good.
And I'm gonna tell you something, man. That dude was everywhere. He was probably equivalent to like a Bud Dupree.
Yeah, he was fast.
He was fast. He was so fast. And the fact that he also wore those really big shoulder pads who had the neck collar. But that dude could run and cover tight ends and running backs out of the back and take care of business.
Yep.
Kill to have me some Levon Kirkland right now, dude. Oh yeah. He was one of my favorites back then, bro.
He was fantastic. I would, this is a funny one, but what I think of with him, you know how I sometimes have referred to Jalen Warren as the electric bowling ball? I would refer to Levon Kirkland as the electric meatball. That dude was just like he was just like a little pinball out there. Just like literally as wide as he was tall.
Short, but man, he was
as wide as he was tall. Like if you could imagine, like I mean, just zipping around and making game changing plays, always near the ball.
Yep.
Just a great player, and I think his career I think didn't have the longevity because I think he lost a little bit of his athleticism with some injuries and stuff. But yeah. But shout out to him.
Wow,
he recently, I just saw on Twitter, I think yesterday, I think he just graduated with a degree. I think he went back to school to finish up.
Yeah. There you go. Awesome. Shout out to Levon Kirkland. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shout out another in a long line of Steelers who have gone back to school. I know Bettis has his degree now. I know Ben has his degree. Congrats to all the boys.
Yeah, man. Understand it's one of those things where, you're involved in the sport of football and is all consuming. And the fact that these guys are able to go back to school, the things that they're able to do, that you props to that. So All right, man. I'll tell you what. You really delved into some good ones here. Now, I'm gonna throw just one
Okay.
back to you.
Okay.
Okay, and I, I'm gonna stay along the same lines because we've done all right. So I'm gonna stay in the same tune, and
Okay.
I'm gonna just say one name, and you tell me. All right, Donnie Shell.
I would say stable because I feel like he was the guy of those teams that didn't get the credit for being a quote unquote great player. But I think for him being a really, really good player for a really long time, he ultimately ascended to being a great player. So I think of stability when I think of him.
Okay, I like that. That's a good way to put um what he did because he did kind of bring that to the team. Do you know what I mean? As far as that's concerned, I would say automatic
Okay.
would be my word for him because you just could throw over there.
Yeah.
You just couldn't because he was going to be there automatically wherever the ball was. That's where he was,
Yeah.
and he it seemed like he sometimes knew what the play was before before everybody in the scene ready. But it's the kind of work about that. But funny that we mentioned because Donnie Shell, just recently into the Hall of Fame, but along with another great defensive player, Troy Polamalu. But I think when you start mentioning guys like Levon Kirkland and Carnell Lake and oh my gosh, man, those are some of the great guys from some really good teams that the Steelers had. You know what I mean? So, you know what? I got to tell you something, 5 star. The show that you put out every Sunday after the Steelers games, man, I know you Kenny Bennett, right? So that's why you got to do this thing right. So all you guys have to do is go to Fire SMU, sign up, go to the site, sign up. It's $4 or $7 a month. Right, you guys can afford that, man. That's less than a cup of coffee a month. And look at all this great content you get. You to have great icons next to your name, like Kevin the Elder God gets to have that really cool icon there, right?
Yep.
He'll send you some really great stickers and some really cool swag that he's gonna be handing out, man. All you have to do is go join up and sign up and be part of the nation, the 5 Star Nation.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. Great pitch. I don't even have to do it for myself. As he says, patreon.com/5SMU. If you appreciate the tone and you appreciate the texture of 5 Star Matchup and or 5 Star Radio,
Ooh,
you need to get over there. You
yes.
need to drop us a few pennies in the jar. $4 a month is literally nothing. You can do it. We appreciate you. We love you. Go do it. Become a member on YouTube. Whatever you want to do. You get free swag, this, that, the other thing. Y'all are the best, and we appreciate you. Um,
5 Star me.
yes.
Give
Um,
me the God, 5 Star me.
Oh no, no, no! You're
No.
canceled. You're canceled, Kevin the Elder God. No 5 Star me. It's oh my god. It's illegal. You're banned from the
Okay.
chat. Um, I
Sorry,
kind
well, I
of.
didn't mean to get you in trouble.
Oh no. Oh no.
But I like
Uh,
5 Star Nation.
yeah, 5 Star Nation is pretty good. I like that. Yeah, we do have people. I mean, we're international. To be honest, I have fans in like Germany and Mexico.
Okay, make it to Reddit. When people on Reddit are like, "Hey, what's the best Pittsburgh thing you should watch?" and people are on, "Hey, there's this guy on YouTube, 5 Star Matchup. You should check it out."
Oh, I love it. I appreciate everyone. You're the best. If you ever shout me out on any other social forums, you are the best. I appreciate it. All right, Steel Flyers, before we get out of here, what do you want to tell the people?
Man, I'll tell you what. So, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you, Thor, for having me on here and allowing me to be part of this great nation, great community, group of people here on the chat. Great group of everything you guys do here with Gage and Fane and everything stuff that you guys are putting out there with Five Star. Man, I'm just very blessed and lucky to be part of this. So, thank you very much. What I can tell y'all is hit me up right here. All you should just go to steel.com and go to the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. We got a number of great shows out there. We do cover hockey, we cover football, we cover Formula One racing, we cover college football as well too. Check us out, man. All you have to do is go to www.steelflyers.com. Check us out, or you can go onto YouTube, check us out there, or you can check us out on your podcasting platforms, from YouTube to Apple to iHeart to Google, you name it. We're on all those platforms, man. So all you have to do is go to steelflyers.com. Check us out, man. Thank you guys very much. And man, I can't wait to see what happens with the game against the Rams. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm looking for cross. Uh, Not so much of a beating.
I think the Steelers are coming back across the country with a dub in hand, 4-2. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I just feel good about it.
Yeah.
I think this is a game they're gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be pretty or anything, but I think they will.
Yeah.
And
Sounds good, man.
I think you'll be
I
getting
like
a win episode of Five Star on Monday. That's what I think.
See, I don't care as long as we get more 5 star.
Yes, but it's more fun for me when it's a win because it performs better. It's more fun to talk about.
And
So
we
that's
want
what,
to win.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Steelers come back across the country 4-2. If you hung out all day, we appreciate you. Consider going over to patreon.com/5SMU. And most importantly, make sure you hop over to the channel right now and catch the newest episode of 5 Star Remastered. Just premiered like 10 or 15 minutes ago. Steelers versus Rams from
Okay.
2019. Me looking back and making fun of myself from 5 years ago. Have fun. Comment, like, make fun of me, whatever. I don't care. It's all engagement. I will see you guys next week. Catch you down the road.